All right, Lab Coat Agents, welcome to another one of our great webinars. And today we have our special guest and a friend. It's just he's a really good friend of ours. Farino, if nobody knows Farino in our group, you haven't been in our group very long. Farino is, when I think of expireds and for sale by owners, I don't think of any other coach or any other person besides Farino. He's the person that I think of and go to first with any questions that I have, and in this you'll see why. Nick, what do you think?
Well, first of all, let's just say that Barino was the MC of Lab Coat Agents Live in Miami last year, so that was pretty awesome. But yeah, when someone in the group mentions FSBOs and expireds, I mean, honestly, and I'm not just saying this because Barino's on with us. It's the only one I think of. Expireds and then FSBorinos. I mean, come on. His name, it's just like, it flows. FSBorino.
And you know, it's funny, when we launched the program, the FSBO program, one of my students suggested that name. That was not even my idea.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Barino, what's your real last name? Is it Barino?
I do not use my last name. It's hidden deep in the vaults of Czechoslovakia. I'm like Prince and Madonna, you know.
Nice.
I love that.
And I tell you, the real reason I just dropped all that is because being Czechoslovakian, you know, we have like 17 syllables, and it got mangled so bad. I'm like, fuck it, no, we're not.
Let's try it. Can we just try it once?
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna embarrass you or myself.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right.
Funny.
Let's get down to it.
Let's get down to business. So we want to talk about why FSBOs and expireds is something I like to teach. Why I believe that if you jump on it and if you follow just a few simple rules that I'm going to give you today, you can literally get out there and get a listing this weekend. That's my goal.
Perfect. That's what I want.
I will give you some practical tips. I'm going to show you. I have some materials here I want to share with you. And I just say, let's just jump in. The reason I like expireds and FSBOs is just a real quick history. I started in real estate in 1742 when things were really shitty. It was really bad. And it was so bad, in fact, that I was homeless. I got gung-ho in the business. You know, I wanted the cars, I wanted the good lifestyle and all that, and I ended up on the street. I got kicked out of a little house in Downey, California. I was renting a little room.
Dude.
And I couldn't pay that. I didn't have enough cash to do that. So I slept in I had a big old Cadillac, the Rust Bucket, and I parked it behind a grocery store. It was like a liquor store in Pico Rivera, California, near Rosemead. And that was my home for a little while. Then my friend took pity on me and put me in. I used to sleep in the office, in a real estate office, but they had this new alarm system that I would trip a couple times a night, so it was a mess. So there was a point in my life where I felt like, okay, this real estate thing is clearly not working out. This is not luxury and cars and homes and beautiful women and lifestyle that I wanted. But you know what they say, like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and three teachers appeared in my life. And one of them is a guy named Art, who was a RE/MAX agent who showed me a very simple approach to expireds. And it seemed like almost too simple for it to really work well. The guy was making a lot of money. So I gave it a try, and within 10 months, I went from homeless and broke to I bought my own condo, I bought a Mercedes, we went to Italy for a couple of weeks. Literally, life changed in less than a year. And so I figured if I could do this doofus with a funny accent from Czechoslovakia who has no business background, no special talents, no abilities other than bad language, I really mastered that one.
You did.
I can teach other people how to do it. And there's a reason why I like the expireds and FSBOs, and here is why. You have 40-some methods of generating listings in this business. But out of those, I like expireds because out of all these methods, they're easy to identify. You have to run campaigns or door knock or mail or email or do all kinds of stuff just to identify somebody who wants to sell. With FSBOs and expireds, the hardest part has been done for you. You can fire up a system, and if you don't have it, and I will talk about which systems I recommend to use to get expireds, all you have to do is hop on MLS, and you know who wants to sell. You hop on Craigslist, you know who wants to sell. So rather than going through neighbors, and I'm not against door knocking, I've done it, and there are other methods you can use, but the part where you have to sift through a bunch of people to find that one who wants to do something is done. You don't have to worry about that. And yes, there are certain conditions and qualifications and all that. But in general, you have your leads served to you. Here are the people who are doing something, who want to do something. Go talk to them. That's really the basic approach. So now, You know who wants to sell. Why do agents screw up expireds? Why they don't do consistently FSBOs? How is it they don't convert them? Even though you have people here who in many cases so appreciate a good agent. Because as you start working expires, the first thing you're going to hear is, our agent this, they didn't call us, they didn't tell us anything, we didn't know what was going on. So when you come in, you lab codes and my rock stars and people who are different caliber agents, all you got to do is your job. Be honest, do what you say you're going to do, deliver the truth, work with them, be helpful, be cool, and they think you're the best thing ever. You don't need to be the biggest rock star, just be better than the old agent, and that's usually not hard to do. So they will appreciate you. Many times they're more realistic about pricing when we're talking expireds, because we know that majority expire because they're overpriced. But it's one thing if you as an agent tell them it's something very different, if the market slaps them around for 6 months. The reality sets in. So it's sometimes very easy second time around to say, look, you tried that price that obviously didn't work. Let's be realistic. And now you can end up with really good listing. So these can be great leads. These can be great people who need your help. There is another reason. I interviewed the CEO of a company called FSBOs. It is one of the largest FSBO sites here in the US. They had, at the time when I talked to them, they had like 90,000 records, 90,000 for sale by owners where people advertise their property. According to them, which they track very closely, 71% of for sale by owners ended up listing with an agent.
71?
71%. Think about that.
Wow.
Out of 10, 7 sign a contract with an agent.
That's huge.
That's huge. Now, here's a second statistic you need to know. NAR publishes a report called the Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers. They do it annually. They analyze thousands of transactions. In that study, last study that was published, since they've been tracking it, the lowest number of transactions in the US were for sale by owners. And you would think, fuck, how is that possible? This is a hot market, listings, there's a shortage of listings, and yet FSBOs are not selling. Only 8% of homes sold in the US were for sale by owners. Only 8. Out of 100 homes sold, only 8 are FSBOs. But here's the more important part. Half of those 8 were sold to a friend or a relative. That means only 5% or less of the for sale by owners know how to market, sell, and close a transaction on their own. Wow. Now, I recommend get that report. It's $20 if you're a member of NAR. It's phenomenal. It's loaded with a lot of data. But this is gold. Because we hear stories, and you hear stuff about FSBOs and expireds, how they're rude, how they're this, how they're that. I have data to prove they end up listing with an agent. They need your help. The only problem is they don't know it yet. They don't know that it's so hard to sell on their own. They don't know the mess they can get themselves into. But if you just look at these simple statistics, you have a gold mine in your hands. So why are we not doing it? And I have some notes that I want to go over. And more importantly than what the problem is, I'm going to give you some solutions. So you can literally get out there this afternoon and start hitting these leads because they're good. Okay?
Let's do it, man. I want to go list a home today.
One more statistic I'm going to give you real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I did a poll in my group. We have 12,000 people. We're like a sister group, smaller sister of big sister lab coats. And I asked agents, where do your listings come from? List the #1 source of your listings in 2017. So here are the stats. 67% of the listings came from referrals. It's the #1 source. You know what number 2 was? 25%? FSBOs and expireds.
No way.
That's
number
huge.
2 was FSBOs and expireds. Number 3, by the way, 4% came from Facebook.
4%?
4% Facebook, 25% FSBOs and expireds, 67% referrals, and the rest were miscellaneous.
Woo.
These are the stats, guys. You can't argue with data. So what does this prove? FSBOs and expireds should be part of your marketing. It's a good lead generation. Now, I know these days it's a crazy market. You don't have 15, 20 expireds a day in most parts of the country. But remember this, it's just another cycle. There are still expireds out there who need your help. And it's going to change. So to have a good system will serve you well, whether it's a hot market right now, because even in the hottest market, not every property sells. Besides, the stuff we're going to talk about today works just as well with old expireds, which many times are even a better lead source because they kind of cooled off, they had a chance to think it over, and they're not being bombarded by so many agents. But I'll show you the steps you need to take to start converting them quickly. Cool? So are you with me on this? Does it make sense? I mean, this is very basic, straightforward data that shows, shit, you got to be working in FSBOs and expireds if you want to bunch up your listings, if you want to crank up more production.
Man, honestly, that's
I just had a really quick question because all the statistics pointing to the fact that, you know, homeowners who want to list their homes still need realtors, right? And so everyone out there is going nuts, like, oh my gosh, all this technology is trying to take our jobs and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, but guys, the data is right there.
Right here.
People can sell more homes than anyone else. And this is part of the reason why Tristan and I talk all the time about just stop worrying about it. Numbers don't lie, you know?
Yeah.
And so why do you think there's so much money being thrown at all this other technology that's trying to bypass the agent when the data is right there? It's right in front of our faces. It makes no sense to me. It's a waste.
I tell you the advantage you guys have, and the reason I love hanging out with you, Nick, and Tristan, and everybody at Lab Coats is because you combine the two qualities that you must have, which is, yes, you still need technology. It is part of this business. No question about it. There are tools you must have at your disposal. It will not replace or solve the problem. It's just part of the, like, remember the old days we used to have pagers? Remember pagers?
Yeah.
Remember? You would pull over. I would always have like a couple of quarters in my ashtray in my car so I could return the call. There was a time like I was the coolest shit because I had the one where you can actually read 2 lines of messages.
Oh, wow.
And it was like high tech, you know. I was like, look at me, baby, and there was this big bulky shit on my belt. I always wanted to make sure that people could see it, you know. Remember that? And then everybody had one. It was no big deal. So technology always has been, always will be part of this business. It is not the business. So if you combine your knowledge of the tools we need, like Facebook, awesome tool. And there's a whole bunch of others. We're not going to get into it. We'll probably do another session just on that. It'd be kind of interesting. But you combine it with your skill. That means you know your market, you know how to get the property sold, but also your skill of communication. And you build a system around it. You're unstoppable. You have nothing to worry about. Nobody's here to steal your business. Nobody. There is plenty. There will be 5.6 million transactions closed this year, according to the NAR projections. And they're usually pretty dead on. 5.6 million deals. Think about it.
A lot.
There is way more you can possibly handle in your area if you do it right. Now, there is the problem. Most agents fuck this up. They screw it up. They make several mistakes. One of them is they don't do FSBOs and expireds because they go by what they heard or that one person they talked to in 1974. And based on that, they decided, I'm not doing it. It's too hard.
Well, you know what, Borina, I'm going to pause you there because I think there's another reason. Here's the other reason.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
It's hard.
It's tough to get in there and get that rejection because I'm gonna get like 30 no's, right?
You're gonna get rejected, and you're absolutely right. I'm not by any means pretending this is easy, but let me put it in perspective.
Shoot.
Being broke and homeless is a lot harder.
Hell yeah, no, that's true.
Being rich and making a lot of money is hard. It's gonna be hard either way. But you know what? In my opinion, is worse. The absolute worst is the mediocre. It's the $50,000 a year, the little Toyota Corolla, little 2-bedroom apartment where you know you can do better, but you're not. That to me is the biggest failure, not grabbing the opportunity. Sure, it's gonna be hard either way. Having a 9-to-5 job, sitting in a cube somewhere is fucking hard. Having an idiot boss tell you what to do, working on projects, trading 5 days of your life for the 2 days of freedom for a paycheck is stupid. And it is a wasted opportunity. So I totally agree with you. Working FSBOs, working expireds, any of this in this business is hard. Running your own business is hard. It is difficult. It is challenging. It is uncomfortable at times. But I tell you one thing, if you can write a check, a lot of your problems will go away. Many of my problems just become expenses. And it's a better lifestyle, and I'll take it any day.
So true.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what do you think is more challenging for people, FSBOs or expired listings? Because if you think about it, the expireds tried to sell, it didn't work, so they're frustrated. But the FSBOs are still on the market and they want to sell, right? So where do you think most agents find the most challenge?
Excellent question. And here is an interesting answer. I have over 20,000 students. Some use my FSBO system, some use my expired system. And what I do is I do this implementation session with them, where when they come on board, I spend about half an hour just helping them getting it up and running. It is about 50-50. Half tell me FSBOs are much harder. Half tell me expireds are harder. And you know what I believe? It's all just a mind game. Here's why. The approach I like, and I know it resonates with you. By the way, I love the video that Tristan up in Malibu about having the human approach, non-salesy approach. Totally agree with it. Very much resonated with me. This is the stuff I teach as well. If you take the sale and the commission and your agenda out of the equation. And if you turn it into one human being, communicating first with another human being, figuring out their situation, and then solving their potential problem, none of that is hard. Because only three things can happen. If you're an expired listing or for sale by owner, if I come with the agenda of, let's just figure out where you are, let's see if I can help, and if I can help, let's figure out how. What would the best thing we can do together? Rather than, I need this listing because my mortgage is overdue, and I don't have enough listings, and it's fucking hard, and my wife is nagging me, and I don't know what I'm gonna do next month. It's a very different approach. I'm not saying it's easy, but with this mindset where you know there's plenty, they need my help, I know how to do this, and if I approach enough of them, I totally can turn them into listings, you're gonna win. So now, number one thing you gotta straighten out is your mindset. It is the foundation of it all. If you go in, and I call it focus, expectations, belief, FEB. If you have the right focus, if you have the right expectations, and if you have the right set of beliefs going in, you can't lose in this game. It's impossible. Because you will always just ask, okay, what's my next step? How can I correct? What can I do better? What do I do next? Instead of questioning, will this work? Am I cut out for this? Are expireds really that good? Of course they are. They absolutely are. And there are people crushing it with expireds and FSBOs. Start with a mindset. Now, this is where so many people go, yeah, blah, 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 woo, 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 new age, airy, fairy, California shit. I hear that. And I fought it and I struggle with it just as everybody else because I didn't believe in this visualize and goals and all that stuff. Just, come on, let's get down to business. And I paid dearly for that. And I learned this lesson, as most of the lessons in my life, the hard way. You know, start with your focus, your expectations, and your beliefs. What do you focus on? What do you expect? And what do you believe is going to impact how it's going to go for you? The results you're getting today is nothing but a result of your focus, your expectations, and beliefs, and consequently actions you took about 90 days ago. It is about a 90-day cycle in this business. So where you are today was what happened about 3 months ago. Where you're going to be right before Christmas is shaping up right now. So that's both the good news and bad news. The bad news is you can't change today. It's impossible. You can start correcting the course, and 90 days from now, you can be in a completely different space. Not to mention different business. Does it make sense?
Totally, 100%.
Totally.
Start with that. Don't cheat yourself on this. Because once you get the hang of it, once you really feel the energy and the positive possibilities, it's going to be a lot easier. Suddenly somebody rejecting you is no big deal because you're going to put it in a perspective of the payoff you can have. I have students who go from 0 to 200,000 in a year. Not everybody. I'm not making any promises, obviously. But just think of the possibilities you have. How much money can you make just with one listing? And what if you could do 3, 4, 5 a month? It starts with the beliefs. If you believe you got what it takes, awesome. If you don't have what it takes, just fix it. That's the cool thing about this business. Once the mindset is in place, it's just a matter of mechanics. You got to fix what's broken. Lead generation, follow-up, or presentation. Those are the only 3 things. So going back to the FSBOs, did I answer your question, Nick?
Yeah, totally.
All right. So now, so that's the first mistake. Big mistake. Not doing it daily because of they don't expect it to work. They don't believe it's going to work. They don't believe in themselves. Many times it's self-esteem issues.
Hey, Barino.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing because I watched a video where you just mentioned lead generation, follow-up, and listing presentation, right? And you just said that if for some reason something isn't working, it's only one of those 3 things, right? You haven't nailed one of those 3 things. You haven't nailed your lead gen, follow-up, or your listing presentation because it really is only those 3. So if for some reason you're not converting, you need to go back and think about which one of those 3 things am I not nailing? And that's it. That's it. And if you pop the hood, Nick, only several things can be broken in that machine because it's really just 3 parts. So let me go artistic on you here. So you have your leads. Can you guys see it? Is it in shot? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got leads. Then from leads, you get appointments. And from appointments, you get listings. Okay, so that's the machine. Because think about it. If you know how to get good motivated leads, if you know how to follow up with them so you get appointments with them, and if you know how through good listing presentation you get listings, you have a profitable business. There's nothing else. That's the whole formula. So now, if it's broken, you can troubleshoot. What is the problem? Are you getting enough leads? And it's a simple yes or no. Don't bullshit yourself. And if you're not having the lifestyle you have, that's the first thing I would troubleshoot. Now, what is the problem here? Either it's approach.
Hey, we lost your audio.
We lost your audio, bud.
While we wait for him, dude, I like the whole FEB. I wrote that down. Focus.
Yeah.
Expectation.
Focus. Expectation. Beliefs.
What do you think? While we're waiting for him, what do you think it starts with? Though I know he did FEB, but I'm thinking, it comes down to starting. It has to start with your belief, right? And then it goes into what you should expect, and then it takes the focus to get the action.
So you think starting with belief is number one?
Yeah, because if you don't believe in yourself, you just kind of fall flat.
That's true. You're right.
Hey, check audio.
Oh,
hey, you're back.
I'm back. My battery's died in my wireless.
Let me switch over. Hold on. Let me highlight your
all right,
video so it doesn't highlight us when we talk. Hold on. All right, you're good.
All right, so going back. So yeah, start with the beliefs. The way I did it, I didn't believe I could make millions of dollars at first, but little by little, I would drive through fancy neighborhoods. I would go to a super tailor. I would go to a Mercedes dealership. Little by little, I started shifting my beliefs. That was my approach. And one of the teachers I met was Tony Robbins. Changed my life. Okay, so going back to this formula. So what is the problem with your leads? It can be either your approach is not good, and we'll talk about it in just a second, or you're not hitting enough numbers. If you do one for sale by owner a month, you have a problem. That's not going to work. You need to have certain numbers because it's at the end percentages. You contact this many, out of those so many you will put on follow-up, some you will get appointments with, some you will drop. But the numbers need to be high enough for the system to work. You know what I mean? So you troubleshoot here, or the approach. What is the problem with approach? Again, you come in with an agenda, and that can go two ways wrong. Either you're too strong, salesy, aggressive, that, I went to a seminar, learned a script, and I thought, okay, now I got it. And people were like, what are you talking about? So becoming too aggressive or too low status, needy, like me, give me that butt cheek, Neither one works. You got to be right in the middle. You're confident. You're in control. You're what I call the high status agent, but you're not a dick. You're not arrogant. You're pleasant. You're friendly. You're still in control. You still are the dominant force there, just like when you go see a doctor. But you don't have to be a jerk about it because there's no attachment. Because at the end, either you can help them or you can't. It's really simple. And you know that statistically, some you will help, some you will not. Really that one. So that's the first troubleshooting. The second is you tell me, well, no, Marino, I get a boatload of leads. I'm just having a hard time getting appointments with them. What is the problem? The problem is your follow-up. And it's the same concept. Either your frequency is off or your content is off. That means you may have a phenomenal follow-up, but if they only hear from you every 2 months, they forget who you are. Don't kid yourself. Even me, so good-looking people forget. I know, hard to believe. So, or your content. Remember this, guys. This is important. Drip campaign is not a follow-up. Just because you have a drip campaign, that's not follow-up. That's just some template, some impersonal, pre-written stuff that you know has been templated. You get that shit all the time. We all get it. And the moment you read it, it's, no, that's not written for me. This is probably sent to 7,000 people. It's important to have a drip campaign. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm saying don't confuse it. Just because you have an automated process, leads will suddenly flock to you. It doesn't work that way. And we won't have time today to talk a lot about follow-up. Maybe we'll do another session because it's so essential. And the most important question, of course, everybody needs to know, what CRM do you use? I love the t-shirt. Laugh my ass off. That was so good. So that's usually the problem. And many times it's both. You have a shitty content and you don't follow up enough. And then the last problem is you say, well, I'm getting boatload of leads. I have a bunch of appointments. I'm just not getting enough listings. What is the problem? Your presentation. But here's the thing. If you not getting listings here at the end, very often the problem was bad first impression at the beginning. That at the beginning, and very often this happens subconsciously. This is not a conscious process where they have a checklist, they evaluate you, they attach your photo to it, and then they decide. It doesn't work that way. But remember how even you and I say it all the time, like, That just doesn't feel right. It's most of an instinct rather than logical process. Somewhere at the beginning, you were either too aggressive, too salesy, or too needy, and you didn't click. Your first impression was bad, which is critical, working not just for sell by owners and expireds, but with expireds and FSBOs. Super important to have a good, strong first impression. 50% of your success depends on it. Because if they label you as cool, nice, pleasant, helpful, you're halfway there. And then the presentation here will be a lot easier. Does it make sense?
Totally, 100%. I think from what I've noticed, me going out to do these presentations and trying to get expireds here for a long time.
Yeah.
I've noticed that throughout the years, I've needed to change the approach because.
What do you mean?
Well, the approach in the sense is the dialogue, because everyone keeps on hearing the same thing, and then they tell you, well, you know what, you're just telling me the exact same thing the other real estate agent did, right? Yeah. So I've noticed that as I change, right, then another door opens, and then I have to change again a few months later. So I've noticed that too, man, because I noticed like a cycle.
It is, and you will get better at this. One of the things I encourage you to do, just keep doing it. If the first 10 FSBOs or expireds turn you down, so what? Use it as practice. That's what I did. I would just practice on some expireds. And here's the funny thing happens. Suddenly I dropped the agenda. I just took the meetings as an opportunity to practice communication and connection. And I would use a little experiment. Try this. It's a really cool communication technique that I learned. As you talk to somebody face to face, if you want to build a super quick and super deep connection, look them in the eye as you talk to them and notice the color of their eye. Just consciously notice that. It's something they don't register. Now, of course, don't be obvious. Don't go creepy on them. But if you do this right, it suddenly creates an incredible sense of connection, like you're really paying attention to them. They really matter to you, and they feel very connected very quickly. It's a very powerful technique. It's simple, but with a little practice, just start doing it, and people will suddenly respond in a very authentic, connected way to you. Try that.
Dude, I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so now, going back to the first approach, this is vital. Your approach must be right in the middle. Now, I'm going to give you a little formula. I call it the 3 Ps. Because so many agents bombard for sold by owners and expireds, most of them say the same things, ask the same questions, have the same agenda, trying to convince the seller. The problem with convincing is this. It builds instant resistance. Because the moment I feel like you want to convince me to do something, you're really telling me that what I'm doing is stupid and I should do it your way. But because we don't have enough trust and relationship yet, I will resist and protect myself against you. That's where the resistance comes from. Because your agenda is, oh, you got to list with me. And we know that it's better for them, but they don't know it yet. And it's a process they need to get to. And no magic line can suddenly make them see the light. Think about it this way. What if I told you right now, guys, all of you should get my Success Plus. It is 7 best real estate systems. It comes with a new video course, expired, FSBO system. You immediately feel like, what are you selling me, schmuck? Just teach me some good shit first. True or false?
Well, yeah, I think our society now is just so jaded from people.
Exactly.
Doing that.
So you come in and trying to convince them immediately that you're their solution and they should list with you and what they're doing is stupid, or they listed with the wrong agent to begin with if it's an expired, it's going to get you a lot of resistance and it's going to be hard, sometimes impossible to turn them. So do the 3 Ps instead. Focus on P number 1 is their pain. What's their pain? What is the problem? What is the seller's problem? And what is so painful that by selling the house will go away? Now, this will instantly shift, and I teach this in the video plus too, from you talking about you, which at that point they really don't care, talk about them. What is their most important, most favorite topic to talk about?
Themselves and their home.
Themselves, exactly. And this will help you. Not only that, but you will start gaining understanding. This is where most agents screw up. They approach a for sale by owner. Imagine you go to a doctor and you say, Doc, I don't know what the hell is wrong. I just have this bad headache here. And the doc says, let's open the sucker up. Let's do surgery. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Don't we have like x-rays and exams and tests and shit? No. We're going to cut it open and let's just see what's in there. What would you do? You would freak out. You run out of the doctor's office, right?
Yeah.
And yet that's what most agents do. Somebody says, I'm thinking about selling. Here's the contract. Think about it. No qualification, no asking, no probing, nothing.
No rapport.
Nothing, exactly. No connection, no trust, nothing. So start with the first P. Think about, explore their pain. Here's the cool thing about using this process, and I'll give you the 2 Ps in just a second. Not only you will get clear what they're trying to do, they will get clear. They will finally get, oh, this is what we're doing. This is why it matters to us. So you suddenly position and shift yourself from being just another salesperson to a counselor, to a guide, to somebody who's finally on their side, a breath of fresh air. That's how you do it. All right, the second one is their passion. What's pulling them? It could be stuff like they want to live near the golf course. They want to be near their kids. They're retiring. They want to finally enjoy life. What is pulling them? What is the pleasure that's pulling them? So first is a problem. Second is pleasure. These two are 100% of the time the real reason people move. That's it. There is no other reason. They will explain and package it in many ways. They will tell you about the bigger house, smaller house, and payments and all kinds of stuff. But underneath it all, it's always an emotion. And it can be a combination. One is always dominant. Mm-hmm. You as a counselor need to figure out what it is and help them get clear what it is. And the intensity of these two will give you their motivation. If this is not there, you don't have a seller. You with me so far?
So
yeah,
far,
man.
Third P is plan. What is their plan? The intensity of their pain and passion will have a direct and most important impact on their plan. What are their plans? What do they envision to happen? How would they like things to go? They need to know, and you need to know. This is the most powerful way of communicating and qualifying. Because if you have all this, insight into their mind, and they have a clarity, then it's just a matter of establishing enough credibility and rapport, connection, and trust with them to move forward, where you will be the natural, logical solution to their problem. That's how you position it. And I'll show you in just a moment, there are some materials and things you can do to support that. But what it's really going to come down to is your ability to communicate. You can do this over the phone. It's way more effective in person. So let me give you a quick steps to convert more FSBOs into listings. On expires, of course.
Wait, can I have a question on that?
Yeah.
All right, so I understand this is like you have to go through this with them, the pain, the passion, and the plan. Can you explain to me how the conversation would go when you're talking about?
Great question. I would start with things like, Tristan, imagine everything would go perfectly for you. Where would you guys like to live? What would be the best plan? And then you'll get an answer. And you say, oh, that's awesome. Never been, I'm making shit up. Never been to Florida, so your daughter lives there. That's wonderful. Would you like to be there, by Thanksgiving? What would be ideal? How would you like things to? We'd love to ideally be there by Thanksgiving. My daughter moved there 3 years ago, and we kind of miss it and stuff. Now I'm getting understanding of their problem, being cut away or being too far from the family. Now I understand the problem, and I understand the passion. Then now I can not exploit, that's not the right word, but I can use it in the communication. Because at the end, I know it's not about that condo in Florida. It's about having Thanksgiving together. And then I would say things like, wouldn't it be cool? Imagine all of you sitting at the dining room table, having your Thanksgiving together. Who cooks the turkey? Oh, that's awesome. How old are your grandkids? That is fantastic. Have you guys found the condo down there? Will you be looking? So what do you think went wrong? Why do you think the property, it's like a lovely home. I'm really surprised it hasn't sold. Any idea what went wrong? What's holding you back? What is like the biggest concern you have right now? I know things didn't work out the first time, and obviously everybody feels a little confused and a little skeptical. What is it for you guys? And I go into a real, authentic conversation rather than reciting some memorized scripts.
That's really good, man. This can be applied to all the listings, not just expireds and for sub owners.
That is the cool thing. It is absolutely irrelevant what area, what price range, what type of home, because now you're not selling, you're having a connected communication. Now, yes, there is some psychology going on, there's some NLP you can throw in there, but at the end, it's one human being who has a problem and another human being who may have a possible solution. I have no problem admitting that's how I get paid. If I solve your problem, I'm going to make money. That's what I do for a living. I don't apologize for it, but it is not the reason I'm there, which is very different than being needy and desperate, just gunning for the listing. You can sometimes get it, and I tried it. I had times where I would sit down for 2 hours beating the seller over the head until they just gave up. I wore them down. But I don't recommend it. It's a hard way to do it. And that's where a lot of cancellations and angry sellers come later.
Yep.
Rather than doing, and the cool thing about all this can take 15 minutes. This is not like a 3-hour therapy section. The problem you're going to run into, let me warn you, is not that people don't want to talk to you, is they will talk to you too much. You will not be able to get rid of them. You'll be like that little dog, like, get away, come on, dude, leave me alone. That's the biggest thing, because nobody else does this.
Dude, you just
trained to recite scripts and use certain formulas, and it's all templated. And people don't respond to it. They don't give a shit. That's why you encounter so much resistance from FSBOs and expireds and all these leads. It's not that they don't want to sell. They do. It's not that they don't want a good agent. They do. It's not that they don't have a problem. They're just scared shitless because most of the people that they encounter are sleazy, salesy, pushy, or incompetent. That's the real problem. And if you can set up conditions and circumstances where they can be honest with you, they can be open with you, you will feel so much better, and they will feel so much better. And you will never have to sell on the fact that you're different, that you're this, you're that, your company. They don't give a shit. You don't have to tell them that you care about them. They will feel it right here, and it's authentic. It's real. Just like I genuinely want to succeed, you guys to succeed. I genuinely care. Yes, I make money if you buy my stuff, and I want you to come on board. But whether you do or not doesn't change our relationship. There's nothing I'm going to hold back today. Ask questions. I will share everything with you. I cannot make you an expert on everything, obviously, in an hour or two. But this is very powerful. If you get this down, you're going to rock the shit out of it.
Yeah, I agree. Marino, there's a question from the audience here.
Yeah.
There's one question that says, talking about conversion, what are good numbers to have? 50 to 60, 70% of the appointments. Where are your numbers, or what should be good?
See, that's a tricky question because there is no straight answer. My numbers are meaningless to you because here is what impacts your numbers. And I understand where you're coming from. I'll give you some guidelines and some formulas, but what I do has no impact what you can do. I, as an agent, was mediocre at best compared to some of you guys that I had the privilege to coach and teach. You knock it out of the park 10 times further than I ever did. So don't let other people's results in either way sway you. But here's a formula I would recommend. Let's do a real quick exercise, either Nick or Tristan. Tristan,
Sure.
If 2018 went really well for you, how much money would you like to make? Throw a number.
7 million GCI.
7 million GCI.
That's a really good year.
That's a good year.
Yeah.
How many transactions would it take?
In my market, probably 250.
250 transactions.
Yeah.
Do you count it you and a team, or you separate from your team?
No, together with the team.
Together with the team. Okay. So you need to take 250 listings. Now, let me get my calculator real quick. And watch my crazy math skills here. You're going to be
Love your crazy math skills. Let's do this.
All right. So 250. So we'll divide it by 12. So you need to crank out about 21 listings a month.
Which is real. That's realistic. I like that.
That's doable.
Yep.
I mean, it's all beliefs will make it real or not. Nothing else.
There you go. I believe
Nothing else. This is not about the market. Are there other agents doing it? Fuck yeah. Of course there are.
Yeah.
And if they're not, you'll be the first one. Big deal. Okay. So you need to know how many listings per month will it take. The second number you need to know is how many appointments do you need to go on to get 250 listings, you and your team together. How many appointments will it take? What's your best guess?
Well, we get about 70% of all the listings we go on.
Okay. So let me see if I can figure out what 70% of 250 is.
I have no idea.
I'll figure it out. I've done this before.
Thanks.
So it's 357 appointments.
All right.
Okay. And I'll divide that by 12. So you need to have 30 appointments a month. One a day on average.
Perfect.
30 appointments a month. The last number you need to know is how many leads will it take to get 357 appointments? In other words, how many leads do you need to get one appointment? And I encourage you guys, if you have not done it yet, start tracking these numbers. These are the 3 most important numbers, because not only will you be able to plan, you'll be able to troubleshoot and scale. And if you don't know, if you don't have the roadmap, you're going to meander and get lost. So always know these numbers. How many leads, how many appointments, how many listings. That's your mantra. Leads, appointments, listings. Okay? So what's your best guess?
How many leads I need a day?
To get one appointment.
To get one appointment?
Yeah.
My guess is 20?
20, okay. That's high.
Okay.
That's high, but that's okay. You are where you are. What that tells me is the quality of the leads is not very good. My numbers from my students average, new agent needs about 10 leads to get an appointment. Rock stars need about half of that, about 5.
Okay.
But you are where you are. You said 20, we'll go with 20. So we need 357 appointments times 20 equals 7,140 leads. In 12 months generated, divided by 12 is 4,284 leads per month. Divided, let's say you work, what, 24 days on average?
Out of the month? Yeah. Probably, yeah, a little more, but yeah.
170 leads per day. You and your team generated.
Pretty good.
Doable.
Totally, man.
Now, if you start increasing the quality of your leads, if you focus more on what I call the high probability leads, referrals, expired, and FSBOs, which were the 3 top sources of listings, and you put Facebook on top and other sources, you can start either scaling or you will not need as many leads to achieve that goal. But that's the plan. So now you break it down. Out of these, let's say I have 10 expireds. How many of those can I turn into a lead? So there are 10 expireds on the MLS or in a system. Now, speaking of systems, I get this question a lot, might as well address it. There are several systems that will research expireds for you. They will send you a list. I recommend, if you have the budget for it, get it. Your competition is using it. It will shortcut some of the things you need to do, like are they on do not call list, have they been relisted and stuff. There are about 4 or 5 systems out there. We are affiliated with several of them, but 2 I recommend the most. Is one I don't even affiliated with. It's, in my opinion, one of the best. That's Vulcan 7. If you have the budget for it, it's expensive. It's about $300 a month.
Yep.
The second one I recommend is Espresso Agent. I get paid huge checks if you join Espresso Agent and use the code Marino.
What's the code so I can put it up here for you, Marino?
Code is Marino.
It is a very.
You guys work with Espresso as well, so it's all good.
Wait, what's the code? Sorry.
My code is Marino.
Marino. Marino is the code.
So give it a try. You're gonna get, like, I think $29 a month trial.
That's for Land Voice or Espresso?
That's for Espresso.
Okay.
Espresso. Yeah, I really like espresso.
I do too. I do too.
Look, I prefer Vulcan 7, but Espresso's good.
Try them all would be my suggestion. See
go.
which one works best for you, given your budget, your area, and the quality of the information you're going to get. Regardless, out of 10 expireds, how many do you think you're going to convert into leads? And there'll be 2 types of leads. There'll be actual leads and potential leads. Same with FSBO, same with everything else. There are 2 differences you need to know when you lead generate. Both can be converted into listings. Both are good sources of business, but here are the 2 key differences. Actual leads, you had conversations with. You had some kind of interaction with, either on the phone or in person. Your call to action with them in your marketing and follow-up, and I'm going to show you some marketing in just a moment, is let's get together. So your target is an appointment. So all your communication gears towards the appointment, qualifying, pre-qualify process, qualify process, and actual listing. With potential leads, you have not had a conversation with. So they can be an expired year after, but you don't have their phone number, you never got a hold of them, they were not home when you went visit. It can still be a good lead. It can still be a listing. It just requires slightly different approach and a different follow-up because there was no conversation. There, your call to action is let's talk, and your goal is to have a conversation. That's the difference. Now, of course, more actual leads result in more appointments simply because the magic happens in conversation. That's the most powerful way. No letter or email or text or video can replace a conversation. If you can have conversations. whether it's on the phone or in person. The only reason many agents resist is because they feel uncomfortable. They are afraid of rejection. But if you don't have a thick skin, this ain't no for you. This business does require a certain level of resistance to the emotions. I know they're there. I felt them. It's life.
And consistency, man.
Consistency, absolutely. Doing this daily can really make a difference. You're going to get better. The results will improve, and the business will improve. No question about it. Does it make sense so far? So how many do you think you can convert? Test it. This will be so different for everybody because you're dealing with different level of leads. Your approach is different. Your marketing is different. Your communication skills are different. My expectations would be out of 10, I would end up with about 3 actuals and maybe 2 or 3 potential leads. The rest I would discard. Don't like the listing or talk to the seller. No good. Don't want to deal with them. Usually it's personality. Because I don't want to psycho sellers. And we all had our share of lunatics.
Hell don't want those.
Nobody wants those. All right? So then you're going to incorporate it in your overall plan. So if I need 170 leads, 78 leads, how many of those can be expireds? How many of those will be FSBOs? How many will be referrals? How many will be online leads, et cetera, et cetera? You should have at least 4 good lead generation funnels set up at all times, bringing you seller leads. Now, the problem is many of these funnels don't generate predictably seller leads, especially like online systems. Where you have to switch is many sellers online behave like buyers. In other words, you don't get a whole bunch of sellers going online looking for agents, researching marketing plans, researching companies. Nobody wants to do that. It's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant. But they like to look at houses because every seller will want to live somewhere else. So if you can tap into it from that end, but that again is for another seminar. All right, does this make sense so far? This is the plan. Here's how you're going to put it together. Don't overthink this. Don't make it too complicated, but make it trackable. Because once you start tracking, you can start tweaking and adjusting. Where is it working? Do more of that. What's broken? Do less of that. Fix it or replace it. Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, you said something important there that I need to pause you on because people miss it. People need to focus on the 20% that's working. Yeah. Don't overanalyze this. If the other stuff that you're doing isn't working, scratch it and put more.
I will give you one more thing that will probably be the most important thing I can give you today. Run your business like a business. Don't make decisions based on emotions. I like this, I don't like that, that feels good, that doesn't feel good. Nobody gives a shit. Make decisions based on, is it profitable? Is it beneficial for my clients and my business? That's it. How you feel about it, your bank account doesn't care how you feel, your dreams don't care, your family doesn't care, your future doesn't care. Nobody cares. Change how you feel if you can, or do it in spite of how you feel. I do yoga now every day because I really fattened up. And Hannah inspired me, so every morning we take a 1-hour yoga class. And it's killing me, it's hard. Nobody gives a shit how I feel. Whether I feel like getting out of bed or not, I'm gonna do it. Take the same approach. If it requires discipline, so be it. But if you can be inspired, that's better. But don't let your emotions control your income. Don't let your emotions control your income. If you're going to use your emotions, use excitement, use the hope, use the potential, the possibilities. But if you're feeling like I'm making decisions because that doesn't feel right and expired this and FSBOs that, fuck that. They're good leads. Somebody's going to list them sooner or later. We have the data. We talked about it earlier. Why not you?
I agree.
Get me?
Yeah.
Okay. Little honest. Okay, so going back. So your approach now is you have a plan. And based on that plan, let me give you a little simple formula that will simplify this. Because some of you may be looking at it saying, holy shit, well, Tristan is really ambitious. He's got a team. He's a successful agent making good money. I'll give you a simple approach. Imagine you have 2 conversations a day, preferably face-to-face. And these are what I call high probability leads, HPLs. FSBOs, expired referrals, open house leads, good online leads, those that you qualify and know they're going to do something. You have 2 conversations a day. Let's say you go visit 1 expired a day, 1 FSBO a day. And you do this 5 days a week. So at the end of the week, you had 10 conversations. Is that doable? Can that be done?
Easy.
Pretty realistic if you ask me. So at the end of the month, you will end up with 40 conversations. We are here what? end of August. So we have September, October, November, December, 4 months. And let's just, because my math is not the greatest, let's say you do it every day. So times 4, you're going to have 160 conversations. And yes, I know there'll be some holidays and stuff, but bear with me. Out of those 160, how many do you think you can convert into good leads? Be conservative. And these numbers will be very different for everybody. But my expectation, if I were to start all over again and do this planning, I would say half. I would expect 80 to be leads. If I select them and go talk to them, I could expect half. And if not, I would probably fix my approach and fix my qualification, but half. Now, let's be really conservative. If out of those 80, how many of those, let's say I convert into appointments and listings? And I'll be conservative. I'm going to give you my expectations. My numbers would be 20%. That's 16 listings. If your average commission, again, for the sake of simple math, is $10,000, that's 160 grand. Just by 2 conversations a day. Now, that's the trick. Like Tristan said, consistency, daily. But you follow it. This is not like you don't need to do mass anything. This is based on building trust, building an authentic connection with a small group of qualified people who like you, who trust you, who respect you, and who, after you do a good job for them, will be your biggest ambassadors. Because they were never sold, they were never manipulated, they were never pushed. The easiest way to generate more referrals is do a good job for the clients you already have. That's the best strategy you can deploy. Nothing beats that. Make sense?
Totally, man.
All right, guys. Now let me give you some tools that will make your approach easier, because not everybody will be home. Not everybody will be there. So here are a couple of things that I would recommend.
Marino, we've got 15 minutes, just so you know. 1-5.
All right. When you do them, bring something with you. This is a simple brochure that comes with the Expired Plus. Put it together. If you don't have Expired Plus, you can make your own. Don't overthink it. There's actually a free one. If you go to Expired, yeah, go ahead.
Where do we go to sign up for Expired Plus?
expiredplus.com.
And what's the cost?
If you get the system, it's $347. Or we take payments. If you want to get the whole system with the scripts and marketing and all that. But let me show you something. This I borrowed from the museum, local Museum of Natural History. This is what I used to use. Black and white, really shitty. This is the actual piece. Okay? Look at that. Client testimonial, photocopied, pasted in there. Simple list of homes I sold. That was the whole thing. And then me and my assistant. Black and white, nothing. I got listings. Don't overthink it. Second thing I'm going to give you, include one of these in your Expired package. Put together a simple package, cover letter, the brochure, market update, add one of these. This is just a sticker, you know, simple plastic sticker. And I would put a little note on the back. I would handwrite, please hold on to this. We may need it soon. Marino, you're a real estate agent.
Nice.
And the reason I would do that is, number one, pattern interrupt. My NLP friends know what I'm talking about. Number two, it's unique, it's different, novelty, kicks endorphins. And number three, it shows confidence in what I do. Without me selling myself, what am I telling? What is the message? You're going to get it done. That's why when the seller asks me, and I'm sure every single one of you had that question before, how are you different? How are you different from the 14 other agents? And I would say, I'll get the job done. I will stay with it for as long as it takes to get it done so you enjoy the Thanksgiving with your family in Florida. That's what I do for a living. I help people just like you. Let's get it done. Yeah, go ahead.
Amin Danani says, what if I'm a new agent and I don't have any sales?
That's the cool thing. The Expired brochure does not list any sales. It was designed for any type of agent. There is no long list. If you have it and you want to include it, that's awesome. That's a bonus, but you don't need it. Yeah?
Love it.
Here's the thing. At the end, whether an agent sold 50 homes or 5 doesn't matter. You know what what matters to them? Whether they like you, how much they trust you, how much they respect you. I had a lady, she was my first listing, first Expired listed in Downey, California, as a matter of fact. And I asked her, you know, all these, there were rock star agents, some teams, you know, there was a dude that used to show up in a Lambo. How do you compete with that? And I had this conversation with her because I set up the conditions so the truth could be told. And she said, yes, some of them are very impressive, well-dressed. I had a $50 Mervyn suit. suit. And she says, I traded their expertise for your passion. Nobody was as optimistic, as passionate as you. And to this seller, that mattered more than anything else. So don't discount yourself. Just because you're fairly new in the business, you have qualities that resonate with some people. You have qualities that will never work for somebody. You're too tall, too young, too old, too short, whatever. Don't expect everybody to like you. It's not necessary. There is plenty of business, and there are plenty of people who, if you approach with this kind of honest, genuine, human approach, will love to do business with you. And we'll very much appreciate you as an agent. And it's not always about experience. Yes, some sellers will say, hell, we'll only list with somebody who's been at it for 20 years. That means nothing. There's no guarantee. Besides, they don't know whether successful agent means 10 sales, 100, 50. They don't know. They have no point of reference. So don't focus expectations and beliefs. If you believe you're a good thing, if you believe you're the best thing that happened to that seller, whether you've been at it for 2 months or 20 years, you are. And you will be able to communicate it without selling yourself. Helpful?
Very helpful, man. It reminds me of a time when I had one of my first expired listings.
Uh-huh.
It was for $1,300,000 and something on Agora Hills. And I go there and we talk for a while. 3 meetings later, he comes up to me and he says, Tristan, you know, I'm going to give you the listing, but can you tell me why are you so confident you can sell my home? I just don't get it. And I'm like, well, because I can. We sold it 3 days later, but that confidence, I'm talking to that person that was new, that confidence goes so far. Yes. It's got all those other experienced agents. They just have to feel like they can trust you. And that's where that confidence comes in.
Yes, totally. And a lot of it is communicated non-verbally. I mean, think about it this way. Imagine you're at the doctor's office and he's like, whoa. Something is not right here. Hold on a second there, doc. You would freak out. And logically so, naturally. You're expected to be in control and be an expert, know what you're talking about, know how to communicate, come in with understanding, and control it. It's okay for you to take control. That's your job. That's what they pay you for. But you just don't need to do it in an aggressive or arrogant way. But it starts with, I believe in myself. Like Tristan was saying, believe in himself. You got it. And if you don't, do a little soul searching, like what's really going on here? Because it may be a lot deeper than just real estate. That was my case, by the way.
Well, I think when you don't have that confidence, there are a few things that you're missing. One could be, I remember not knowing my scripts or my dialogue, and I felt like that's why I didn't have the confidence. And the other part was maybe my presentation wasn't there. So once I got those going, I had more belief in myself.
Yeah.
So I think those are.
There is one more part to that. Know your market well. Know what you're talking about. Not that hard to do. Just go preview a bunch of properties, study what's going on, check the MLS every day. But you got to know your market inside out. If the seller knows more about what's going on in the neighborhood, you're dead. They may be wrong, and it's okay if they're wrong because you, through your expertise, can give them the right information, but you got to know what you're talking about. That's your product. That's the core skill you must have. Know the market well. Because if I have a conversation with a FSBO that says, well, what about the house on Oak Street? And you say, oh, yeah, that was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, about 2,800 square feet, 20 years old, nice property, a little smaller kitchen than yours. It was on the market for 2 months, sold about 3 weeks ago. Instant credibility. I don't have to sell myself. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to do anything. I'm instantly established as the expert. And I'm perceived as such, as opposed to, oh, yeah, there was a sale. Yeah, let me look it up for you. I'll get back to you. It's dead. It's over. It's done. You're expected to know. That's your job. Yeah. All right, guys. What else are we going to talk about? Are we done? How are we doing on time?
We're doing good. We got a few more minutes. We can wrap up.
I wanted to invite you. Either if you want, I have these systems. I'm not here to pitch you or sell you, but it's my job to let you know. I have the FSBO system called FSBOrino. I have the Expired Plus system. They're all like complete. You get the follow-up, you get the first approach, you get the videos where I'll walk you through it, you get the implementation session with me. And yesterday we rolled out the Video Plus, which I think is really cool.
What's the website to go to get that?
To get that, go to realestatevideoplus.com.
Real estate video. I'm putting it up there. Realestatevideoplus.com.
Yes, and it's a complete system, how to do videos using nothing but your smartphone, how to promote yourself, promote your listings, do open house invitations, do mass video, meaning one video goes to many people, but also do one-on-one videos, short little videos you can use for expireds and FSBOs, use as a follow-up. I even show you a strategy, which is kind of cool. You use your client testimonial as one way to answer, how are you in a different? It's a really powerful way of doing it.
That's a beautiful one, man.
It's very cool. You queue up your testimonial, and as you're talking to the seller, and they say, well, what are you going to do different? And you say, well, instead of me telling you, how about I let somebody else tell you? And you hand them your phone. And then you have a little 30-second clip from somebody telling them how you were the rock star.
We have to check that out. All right, Nick.
Well, you know, tomorrow I'm starting the boot camp with Burrito.
Oh yeah, we're starting tomorrow. 8 weeks, brutal.
Oh,
lots of work.
Oh man.
Tell me about the boot camp. How does that look? What's the course like? Tell me.
Well, what I asked Nick to do is report weekly what's going on, what he's learning, what he's working on, the 7 days of ordeal that. But the way it works is we get together for 8 weeks. It's a live webinar, small private group of agents. And we build your lead generation funnels together. We build your follow-up system, and we build your listing presentation. And the way that works is we spend 1 day online doing it, and then there are assignments and homework that the students work on during the week.
That's awesome.
I teach this 3 times a year. This is going to be our fall one. There may be one towards the end of the year, possibly. So we'll see.
So yeah, tomorrow I'm starting. Tomorrow I'm a little nervous.
You should be. Remember, guys, I was trained by Czechoslovakian special forces with the Russian commanding officers.
Oh,
so a lot of the military background kicks in during the boot camp. So
but I'm excited.
Have a good time. It's a good experience. But what I wanted to do is come up with a program to really intensify and accelerate how to get this done. I don't do like one-on-one coaching for 2 years. I don't believe in that. If it's going to take me 2 years to get you up to speed, either I really suck as a coach or you suck as an agent. One of us is not doing it right.
So you know which one it usually is, though. Come on.
That's usually the case, no? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So I can do this in 8 weeks. Now I need your help because it's going to require a lot of action on your part, a lot of faith, and really going out there and getting it done. And the standing record for boot camp, just so that I'm going to challenge Nick now, watch, is 17 listings taken during the boot camp.
And wait, how long is the boot camp process? 8 weeks?
8 weeks.
And it starts tomorrow?
It starts tomorrow.
What time?
Sign Tristan up.
You want to join us?
What time?
1 p.m. Eastern, 1300 hours Eastern.
All right, I'll message you right after.
All right.
It's gonna be me and Kyle, my ISA / he's my ISA and then one of my buyer agents. So I really wanted him because we're working together on expireds and FSBOs, and I just really wanted Kyle in on it with me.
It's gonna be good.
Borina, one last question here from Blake Smith. He says, elaborate on the market. Can you elaborate on the market? How can you keep up with all the homes in a large market?
That's a really good question. I had the same problem. I was in Southern California. As you know, Tristan, it's huge. It was all over the place. So you start with a dominant area. That's your target area. For me, that was close to my office because I had a giant Cadillac gas guzzler. It was a practical decision, so I didn't have to burn a lot of gas. So I started there, and I started expanding out. That's what I did. And here's how I would do it. You remember playing Connect the Dots? That's what I would do. Like I would line up a couple of FSBOs, couple of expireds on a map. That was back when Thomas Guide was still around. I don't know.
I remember that.
So I would have FSBOs, I would have expireds, preview properties, actives and pendings and solds, and then I would door knock. And I would do it all in one swoop. I would start at 8 o'clock in the morning, come back to the office at 1. So this way you don't go back and forth.
Well, that's what I learned from you. I'm going to answer Blake's question too, on top of what you said. When I talked to you, when we were coaching, you said, Tristan, you're everywhere. I need you to focus in the market, in a very small market that you want. What do you want? And I said, well, I want Malibu. You said, you know what? Just do Malibu. And in Malibu, pick a small area. That's it. As soon as you told me that, I had 2 listing presentations, one at 9 million and one at 14 million.
Damn.
Dude, I was just scattered.
But see, now when I'm a seller in Malibu and I talk to you, you know what you're talking about. There is credibility, there is authority, there is expertise, there is knowledge.
I know the numbers. Look, there's 273 listings as of this morning in Malibu, right? Because you told me focus in Malibu.
Yeah.
I have a question. Byron Duong says, can we join the boot camp too? What link do people go to, or is it too late?
It's too late. We are completely sold out, but we will do another one. If you go to goborino.com, we have a waiting list for the next one.
GoBorino.com.
GoBorino.com. That's for the boot camp. And jump on a waiting list, or you can just email us, send a message. You know, we take pigeons, so whatever.
You know what, Borino? You bring such great energy every time, and it's,
thank you.
It's so fun. This is one of the few times that when we're doing a webinar, Nick and I kind of get lost into it, and we really don't know that we're actually having a webinar. It feels like we're being coached. So
we're just, well, you know, I tell you the secret, and it's the same thing with you guys. If you're not passionate, you got to fire up the passion. Because if you're not passionate about getting somebody's home sold, like Tristan, you were saying, the seller was sold because you were sold on you. It's the same thing. And I tell this to my students, many times I believe in you guys more than you believe in you. Because I can see what you're capable of, what dreams you have, what potential you have. And I have tools and means to kind of fire it up and wake you up. Because if you think about it, I had students like, you guys know Jessica. She's awesome. Jessica Stone, one of my
she is awesome.
Now friends. She started meandering, doing deal here and there. Now they bought a brand new house. She bought a Porsche. She bought her husband a car. She's living an awesome lifestyle, and she's just getting started. She's nowhere near her potential. Now I'm using it as an example, not to show you how cool I am, but how the potential that's out there to inspire you, which you're capable of very quickly, if you just get out of your way. And I totally believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste my time. I would definitely not waste your time here. You understand what I'm saying? You can do this, guys. This is not as complicated as you sometimes tend to make it. Yeah? And I'm having fun doing it.
That's a great point, because, just from here watching agents comment and talk about things, and a lot of them really do stand in their own way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, a lot of them are their own worst enemies. A lot of them aren't more successful because of the excuses they make and because of the fact that they just, like you said, they just think about it too much. You know what I mean? They're afraid to try new things, and they're afraid to have those new things not work. And so the only way is to just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. Stop getting in your own way, and just stop and get out of your own way and just do it already.
There's a great book that
it's just really frustrating to me to see.
No, I hear you. And I tell you what helped me is I set goals so insane and so amazing that not getting them simply was not an option for me. And looking back at being homeless, never again. So I created a lot of passion, a lot of pull, and I had a lot of pain. And between these two, it was not that hard. You got to do the same. Either set some incredible goals. The only other way is you're going to create a lot of pain. I don't recommend that.
I agree.
I
agree. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Appreciate it. Nick, you're going to have fun at boot camp tomorrow, man.
Oh my God.
Thanks, Marino. Thanks so much for helping.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, but you know what though? I'm stepping out of my comfort zone with this boot camp, and that's what everyone else needs to do.
That's right, man. That's right. Bring everybody along. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.